I'm Dustminion. With me is...
TC88. And this match is going to be between ibuba7 and narfman0. What's interesting about these two players is that first had the pleasure of watching their talents on display as they participated in the SMB3 Vanilla 90% Warpless Tournament, which too was hosted by SpeedGaming back in the summer of 2018. It was precisely that tournament that inspired me to start speedrunning this game myself, so it's honestly kind of exciting to see how things have come full circle since then.
Yes. So we have 4. And we have this level.
All right, so it looks like Narfman is starting out on level 1-2 with the Angry Sun activated. So thankfully he's able to get past that no problem now that he has a star, and makes it all the way to the end card, no problem. All right, so it looks like both the timers are synced up, and Boob is pretty much right in the same position as Narfman is right now, so they'll be making their way through 1-3, avoiding that fire snake seamlessly. We'll see if they end up going for the item behind the level.
Well, Narfman is.
But has opted to just get past those the obstacles right in the way and just go straight forward and push forward. Coming up next, you'll have 1-6. So ordinarily in this level, when you're doing the vanilla warpless strats, you just want to start building P-speed right along those 2 wooden beams up top. Unfortunately, you don't really have that luxury unless you have a leaf to just kind of fly over whatever enemies might be in your way. Ordinarily, you would just have a Paracupa right there to just stomp over them and then just make your way over the gap. Oh, and it looks like Narfman miscalculated a jump and then just fell right in the pit, so he'll have to start over.
Yeah. Worth mentioning that Narfman picked up an anchor from 1-3. If you're not in the know, because the airship in the randomizer stays put if you die rather than moving around, the anchor has been repurposed to be a random item. It could be a hammer, it could be a cloud, it could be a mushroom.
The ibuba has pretty much no problem making his way through 1-4, especially when you have the tail. You can just pretty much glide over all of the floating platforms that come your way. So at this point, it looks like he's going to be a level ahead after that mishap that happened in 1-6. And Narfman having a really rough fire bro fight with the shallow water. It's not really a good combination, especially when you're small Mario.
One of the worst possible combination of brother and arena.
So ibuba just made his way past the fort. So he picked up the item that's on the upper platform, and he got an anchor. So that's going to count as a wild card in this randomizer. So it could pretty much count as anything, and you won't know what it is until you actually select it out of your inventory. So it could be a cloud, it could be a star, it could be a hammer suit. Thing to see once he gets to a point where he'll actually decide to use it.
And we'll see how what Larry's like today in this seed.
Another interesting to note about these Koopaling fights relative to just vanilla SMB3 is that the number of stomps it would take to defeat each of these Koopalings could be random, anywhere from 1 to 5 hits.
And the heaviness and the high jumpiness has also been randomized.
Yes, that's right. So normally in vanilla, you would normally just see Roy and Ludwig von Koopa being the ones that just generate earthquakes. But it could that could also apply to pretty much any of the bosses in this randomizer.
That being said, Wendy is still the ring lady and Lemmy is still the ball boy.
So ibuba is the first one out of World 1, and he's making his way to World 2 right now. So he'll be starting off just right out of the gates with the fort. Interesting to note about these flag set as well is that World Order is going to be consistent with vanilla. So you'll see levels like 1-1, 1-2, 1-3 all in World 1, and but the only thing is that their panels will be in different locations on the overworld map.
There may be an exception or two where some levels not in their respective worlds are in. Like I've had a World 4 level be in Iceland with this flag set, so that kind of thing still can happen, but for the most part.
Dustmanion brings up a really good point. You may see some uncommon exceptions, like seeing a level like 7-9 show up in World 6, but that's mainly meant to accommodate the fact that the number of forts you'll find in each of these worlds is randomized as well. So normally you would see, World 1 with 1 fort, and sometimes it could end up having 2 or 3 in other seeds as well. So levels do get swapped around in order to fill up those gaps. Also worthy of note about this flag set is that hammers do indeed break locks, and the end spade cards are playable after every 80,000 points scored. So these are really important to keep. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Case in point about what we talked about earlier with the some levels not being in their respective worlds. This fortress that ibuba's in and is about to complete is normally a World 5 fortress.
It looks like Narfman just decided to do the end spade card, so he was able to match a pair of flowers out of the cards. So we'll see what item he got from that, because unlike vanilla, matching 2 flowers doesn't necessarily give you a flower. I mean, it could, but every time you match any set of cards, it'll just give you a random item or a 1-up. It's also a good opportunity to pick up some extra clouds and hammers just by chance if you happen to luck out with that game. And that can really influence how you strategize, how you want to make shortcuts to some of the airships in some of these overworlds.
Yeah. Another thing worth mentioning about the fortress that Narfman is in right now is the trick with it is if you just keep moving and never stop, you'll pretty much make it every time.
While ibuba was finishing up level 2-5. He doesn't have to break any locks. The 1 fort that he had to play, he got out of the way right in the beginning. So as soon as he finishes this, he'll be on his way to the World 2 airship where he'll fight Morton Koopa. Man is able to apply the vanilla Warpless strats to the pyramid, so he's able to just get through that fairly seamlessly. The only thing to watch out for is that sometimes the bros that will greet you at the end of some of these levels will jump at the same time you do. So it's also really worth noting just to make sure you don't just run right into their face.
It can happen and will happen.
Happened to me plenty of times, and I've played Randomizer quite a number of times, and I still get debated every time. Was able to apply some really good P-speed strats for the World 2 airship, and he's able to get to Morton with a 291 on the timer. Really good. So he looks like he's trying to go for the fire kill. We'll see if he'll be able to get him in time, or if he's just going to go for
or he just dies of natural causes. Or if he just goes away and leaves and just lets you have it.
So ibuba's now generated a pretty solid 2-level lead right now, and he'll be the first to go into World 3. So we'll see what are the first levels he's going to encounter from there. And unfortunately, it looks like Narfman got a 3 of a kind at the end of 2-4. So he's going to lose a couple seconds, maybe 3 or 4, just from picking up that 5-up. But nothing too out of the way. I wouldn't be too concerned about that, especially since anything can happen in Randomizer.
Alright, Ibuba went in this level with the Fire Flower, which will be very handy.
So Narfman is now making his way through the World 2 airship, so he was able to maintain P-speed as he was grabbing the leaf, so he was able to just fly over the mass and make himself a nice little shortcut to Morton. Very nice. So World 3 is definitely one of the notorious overworld maps where it's very easy to get lost as you're trying to navigate your way through the pipes and just try to find your way over to the airship. And hopefully you'll have a hammer by then, by the time you reach the airship, so you can just break a lock and then just make through. It could save you a lot of time and stress just trying to find your way to the correct forts, since they could be shoveled in some pretty awkward locations. But got chipped by that corner pixel and he lost P-speed, but he was able to get through there unharmed. While Narfman finishes up World 2's airship, and he'll be making his way to World 3. Taking a moment to see what's in his inventory, so he decides he'll just play it through. Well, it's not a bad level to have for a level like this. Ideally, Narfman would have preferred to have a P-wing to just fly over all the platforms. It looks like he tried to do a wall jump in the beginning to try to make that shortcut. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to be an option.
Yeah, just a bit too tall.
Right, so ibuba is now experimenting with the pipes to see what... Ooh, unfortunately, Narfman just got chipped by that jellyfish. So now he's going to have he uses his anchor wisely, and now he has his P-wing, so he'll be able to get through 3-5 with a breeze now. He'll be able to build a lot of acceleration just running off a lot of those platforms.
Meanwhile, Ibuba has hammered his way through that lock and is going to face Wendy. Is she heavy?
Doesn't look like she's trying to jump, but
Yep.
Yeah, and she's heavy. We do have a thick Wendy on our hands.
Thankfully, only 3 hits.
You'll see that a couple of those fireballs went through Wendy, and it's worth noting that the hitboxes on many of these Koopalings are on the upper half of their sprite. So if the fireballs are angled at a bad trajectory, then sometimes it'll just go through her lower half. So you have to be really careful with how you pace yourself and just watch your distance as you're shooting them off in pairs. It's normally the strategy to use fireballs on the Koopalings, even in the vanilla runs. So there's going to be a lot of different strategies employed as you make your way through some of these fights, but it's very hard to tell what a lot of these patterns are going to be doing until you're actually in the arena. Fortunate thing about Wendy is that she's very consistent in how she behaves, with the exception, of course, being the Quake jumps in Randomizer.
Ibuba has chosen to immediately go in this fortress. But is it the correct one?
Whatever the case may be, it's always a good opportunity to knock out forts, just in case you want to build a bridge as soon as possible in order to get to that fortress. It didn't look like it was the right one, so we'll see if he's going to match any pairs, and he does. He got 2 mushrooms
And a
got
flower.
2 flowers. Very nice.
And another one.
3 pairs. Four pairs.
That was a 1-up.
5 pairs. Very nice.
While the prizes are randomized, 1-up is still in the prize list. Narfman picked up a hammer from the coin ship.
Oh, that'll be very helpful in case there happens to be a lock right where where that airship is. I wasn't able to catch if he was able to unlock it with the correct fort. Meanwhile, ibuba is playing 6F3 in World 4. As we had mentioned before, some of these forts can be swapped around because the number of forts you'll find in some of these worlds will be randomized as well.
Boo got lucky with the enemy roster there in that room. Normally there's hot feet and booze.
You never want to have a rogue hot foot, especially when you're in that elevator. It's very easy to just get trapped in as you're trying to make your way to the doorway if you're not careful. That didn't seem to be the correct fort as well, so he has one more to knock out. And it's going to be 4F1. It's always a good opportunity to have a power-up with some secondary HP in case you take damage the first time. It's always going to be faster just to go the upper route instead of taking the pipe where you would ordinarily find another power-up on the down there. Because you also have to build your way up to the top to the exit pipe with those Kaizo blocks.
There's always a chance of accidentally picking up an invincibility, and you cannot enter the pipe while you're somersaulting. Oh, upward a pipe, I should say.
That's also a really good point as well. Like, if you have to sit through another star cycle, that could lose some extra time as well. So Booba is making his way through the World 4 airship. He did not opt to go for Peace Beach threats this time, but at least he'll be able to pick up some additional power-ups along the way. That Raccoon Leaf will especially be helpful, so we could just glide over a lot of those bigger gaps that would normally be harder to cross as normal Mario.
And Iggy was heavy, one hit.
Very, very nice.
That's both the heavies out of the way. Everyone else will have normal weight.
We'll see if Narfman has the same sort of luck as ibuba did with the card matching game. Fortunately, he does not. So we'll see if he's able to find the fortress to unlock the bridge any sooner. Because if he chooses to play, that can give him a nice leg up on ibuba's World 4. He'll be going through 4F2 as well. Yeah. Ibuba's making his way, just casually gliding past all the beetles in 5-6.
Yeah. And Ibuba will have to do that fort because there's nowhere else to go.
Right, so we'll see if Narfman is able to find 4F1 so that he'll be able to play just one less level and make his way over to World 5. Meanwhile, Ibuba took a little bit of damage in 5F1, but he's able to get through there no problem.
Ibuba tanked those hits just to get through it faster.
Even when you do come into that fort with a raccoon tail or a fire flower, it's very hard to hold on to them just because it's very easy to get tripped up by reverse trajectory of those roto discs as you're making your way past the thwomps. And it looks like ibuba has a really easy path to the World 5 airship.
Just gotta go through this and then... yeah.
So, unfortunately, he was not able to hold on to that fire flower as soon as he got it. But thankfully, he'll be able to have an opportunity to grab a power-up once he gets his way to the airship. So we'll see how Roy Koopa decides to treat him this time.
Indeed, no 5-3 or 5-9. Two rather long levels you don't really want to see.
Even though 5-3 isn't necessarily an auto-scroller, it does have two pretty lengthy parts that are pretty tough to get through, especially with the number of enemies on screen. It could generate a significant amount of lag. 5-9 is an auto-scroller, and that could take a good 45 seconds to a minute just to get through. Even though there's really not that enemies on screen, it is a bit of a waste of time and a good opportunity to use a cloud if you happen to have it.
Yeah. Very soft Roy, by the way.
Oh, very nice. So ibuba just finished off Roy Koopa, and he'll be making his way over to World 6. Meanwhile, Narfman's just about to board the airship to get his way over to Iggy Koopa, but he's gonna see what's an item will be in store for him in the coin ship.
Got
It
a
looks like he
P-wing
picked
from
up.
that.
Very nice. That'll definitely come in handy for World 6, especially when he makes his way over to 6-9. He'll definitely want to make his way over to that gap. I believe it will especially be helpful when he's making his way to the through the underpass in 6F2.
All right. Booba's gonna try to do the flight.
It looked like he needed a second to build
Succeeds.
some P speed, but gets through there no problem.
Invincibility does not help against the Koopalings, but it does help you go through the projectiles, the magic blast, the rings, the balls without getting hit yourself.
Mew fan made a really good point in chat that a P-wing can really be helpful in a level like 7-5 as well, especially when you're making your way through those narrow tunnels. So, only thing to watch out, especially in 7.5, it's definitely one of the ones that are consistently tricky from each randomizer seed you go through, because it's also possible that you can get a boss bass in some of those narrow tunnels, or an angry sun just hanging right over your head.
Bye, Ham Brother.
Unfortunately, it looks like Narfman had a miscalculated jump in 5-6 when he was trying to pass through where those beetles were.
Yeah, this level is actually kind of mean without the auto scroll, if you can believe it, because of that parabeetle, that very finicky one that won't show when you want it to.
It's pretty common practice for racers to do a bit of a lunge jump where that large chasm is, so that you spawn the beetle a little bit sooner. But it is possible to do a full jump and just clear that gap. It's just a little bit tight.
Yeah. Oh yeah, worth mentioning. What Boo Boo was trying to do before entering that pipe was there is a clip you can do, but it's pretty tricky, like very tricky, I should say.
I want to say you have a 6-frame window in order to clip partially into the wall, and then that'll give you enough leverage to do a wall jump to make your way on top if you don't have a P-wing immediately at your disposal. It's definitely significantly harder with a larger Mario. You do need a minimum speed of 40 as you're making your way over to that wall, and you do have a 2-frame window with Big Mario in order to do that same wall jump. So, fortunately, he didn't really have that luxury this time around, but he's making his way no problem to the World 6 airship.
Narfman is choosing to collect items from the Hammer Brothers, which not a bad idea. Was that another one-hitter?
It looked like it. Normally, after one hit, Lemmy would have an opportunity to throw one of his balls, but it didn't seem to be the case this time. But Narfman's going to be making his way over to Sky World, so we'll see if he's able to get that quick shortcut to the World 5 airship.
Narfman's choosing to ignore the endgame.
Probably a good opportunity at this point. He does have a lot of clouds and hammers at his disposal already, so...
yeah, no reason to overcommit on that. Ooh, Piranha Fort.
Boob is making his way to 7F2 to see if he can unlock the lock to get to the World 7 airship. It looks like he's had a pretty linear path with some of those pipe warps. So he's able to make good use of that star just to boost past those enemies, and then he'll probably be doing a damage boost in order to get to Boom Boom a little bit sooner. That doesn't indeed seem to be the case. Very nice job. Well, Narfman just rounded up the World 5 airship, so he'll be making his way over to World 6. So he does have a good opportunity to use clouds and hammers, because World 6 does consistently seem to be the longest overworld map from each randomizer seed you go through. Didn't look like 7F2 was the one to unlock the airship, so you'll have to backtrack over to 7F1. A bit of a miscalculation on Narfman's part, but thankfully he does have another tail at his disposal just to fly over the through the underpass. Buba made very wise use of his P-Wing in order to make his way through Fort of Hard Knocks. Otherwise, the other conventional path would have to be to use the P-switch in order to get your way to the passage where you would get the Tanuki suit in order to fly up. But it does save you a significant amount of time if you can go into that level prepared. Rube is taking a second pass at the end card game. No such luck, but shouldn't matter. Doesn't seem to have a music box, so you'll do the next best thing and you just start to boost past where the munchers are. So we'll see what item he has in store for him. Hopefully a hammer, because that'll definitely open up some pathways in World 8.
Yep. While the hammer likely will not help you with unlocking Bowser, it should get rid of a barrier or two.
It could minimize the amount of roundabouts that you have to go through in order to get to the appropriate fort or tanker ship. Alright, so Narfman's making his way through 6-2 with auto scrolls disabled. So we'll see what power-ups he decides to pick up. And he has no problems making his way through the fire chomps.
Okay, we have Moonvig. And that was 2 hits. These were some very weak Koopalings this seed.
We have a lot of 1-hitters and 2-hitters in this seed this time around.
I think the hardiest was Wendy.
Yeah.
Our friend Boss Bass.
Ooh.
Oh!
Gets grabbed by Boss Bass. Very unfortunate setback, but I'm sure he'll have some items at his disposal in order to make things a little bit easier. Or we'll see what it decides to do. He's going to opt for 6-1, maybe?
And again!
Ends up being 4-1, this time with another Boss Bass. So ibuba had to do a little bit of damage boosting in 8F, but he's able to get the single cycle on the P-switch. Very nicely done. So he'll be finishing off Boom Boom, and then we'll see what path that happens to unlock.
Okay, hand trap.
Thankfully, this ends up that hand trap happens to be the shortest one out of the 3 that he could possibly be pulled by. So he'll lose no more than about 15 or 16 seconds, depending on if you factor in the hand animation.
Yeah, hand traps are still normally the norm of the hand traps for this seed. Unfortunately, the prize was music box.
Well, unfortunately, Narfman got caught by the boomerang in the coin ship, so he's going to be trying to push his way through. So rather than experiment with some of the pipe paths, you'll just be
Iceland loves its boss bass.
Looks like Narfman was able to adopt really well with the 100% strats with the P speed. Very nicely done with the platforming. It looks like he's going to be coming up on 6-10 next. Ideally, this is probably one of those levels where I would have preferred to Cloud, just because it could be kind of a pain to get through if you don't have the convenience of B-speed strats you would normally do in vanilla, nor the guarantee that you'll have a worthwhile power-up to grab, especially with so many things that are coming up in your way and the lag that could be generated by those ice blocks.
Meanwhile, ibuba has entered Super Tanks. and it's about to clear it.
Looks like ibuba's knocking out as many of those tanks and ships that he can while he's on that first screen, just so that he doesn't have to backtrack later. Probably a very good strategy to have. Narfman was picked up a 3-of-a-kind star, so he'll lose an additional 3 or 4 seconds from the additional lives that he grabbed. But at least he's making his way to the end goal now, so he's making his way to 6-9. Does he decide to wall jump? He's going for it. 1, 2, 3. Looks like he just hit the pixel.
Yeah, almost.
5, 6.
Oh, and ibuba is blocked off. He'll have to find the other pipe.
Thankfully, he at least knows where the Valley of Bowser is, but he's has to trudge his way through some of those hand traps. One of the ships is located now, so that'll probably be the next place he decides to look. I admire Narfman's dedication. He really wants to get that wall jump, and he finally gets it. Very nice.
Ibuba choosing to do the Navy. I do believe this will raise the bridge.
On the fort, he's done the airship. I mean, he's done the Air Force. Not really many more places to look, if anything else. Don't see any locks burst in the dark room, so that could possibly be it. We'll see. And it is. And he has 2 hammer suits at his disposal, so he'll just go charging in there with full force with the star.
Narfman entering World 7.
ibuba stumbled a little bit with that one-up clip, the people's clip, so to speak. He's going to go for upper path. Doesn't get the clip. Can't tell if that door entry was intentional or not, because I know he's familiar with the danger of those randomized fireballs, so he's going to want to hold on to that hammer suit and be as careful as he can.
And yes, this room is now randomized. Normally, it used to not be randomized. And because of that.
And down goes Bowser. Very nice job from ibuba.
With an official SRL time of 32:37.
Your GG's out for ibuba7. Very nicely done. Another risk factor to keep in mind for that statue room right before Bowser is that sometimes if there's a lot of fireballs on screen, some of their visuals can be despawned, but the hitbox will still be active. So it is possible just to take damage from a fireball that you can't even see. And as Dustminion mentioned before, the lasers in the statues are randomized as well. So you definitely want to make sure you don't get sniped right at the last minute as you're trying to make your way to the door. So it looks like Narfman is making his way to Ludwig von Koopa. Does he go for the fire kill, or is he going to just go for the conventional jump strats? And that does indeed seem to be the case. Another 2-hitter indeed. Very nicely done. We'll see how he decides to route through World 8. Man, were you able to catch how many hammers are left in Narfman's inventory?
He might have one left.
Whatever the case may be, we know that the $1 million level is going to be the Navy. So we'll see how quickly he's able to find that. He's taking a moment to think. All right, he's going to take a gamble and skip the Air Force and the fort. So that definitely does have an opportunity to pay off, because neither of those ended up being the ones to unlock Valley of Bowser. It can pay off.
We do know that the Navy makes the bridge, but where is that other pipe?
Yes, in addition to figuring out what that the Navy is the one to unlock Valley Bowser, he also has to know where to find it as well. The dark room, that should make his process of elimination a little bit easier. He can go for it in his inventory, so I'm assuming not. Oh, he does have his hammer. Is it right at the moment? Narfman suddenly reminded that the enemies are not the same enemy spawns are not the same as in vanilla, but he was able to get most of the P-Speed strat down without taking any damage, so
that was a clean 8-1.
Indeed it was. And we get another boss bass in 8-2.
Number 4.
I think an important thing to note about just boss basses in levels generally is that you don't want to snipe it out with a fireball right away, because sometimes it can respawn in a really inconvenient location and then just grab you right out of thin air. So it's always good to see that he's always someplace where you can see him and watch out for him.
Pretty much any level that has more than one elevation.
So he realizes that the hand bridge is not going to give him what he wants, so he'll have to do a little bit of backtracking. So will he find the Navy in the dark room?
That path, unfortunately, was a bust.
It's his hammer, and he uses it. The right track, you're getting warmer. That's where the Valley of Bowser is. Now we just got to put it all together. And he finds the Navy, very nice. Doesn't seem to get the P-Speed strat there, but as long as he's able to hold on to his Fire Flower, he should be in good shape. Quick and clean fire kill on Boom Boom, very nice. So now he'll have his opportunity to make his way over to Valley Bowser. And there you go.
No hammer suit, but that's fine. Fire will also do the job.
It's only 5 seconds slower than doing the hammer kill, but you do also have that risk factor of getting a bad jump pattern from Bowser, where he'll just leap at you at an angle where you can't avoid damage. So as long as that doesn't have to be the case, then Narfman is still in the clear for the fast win.
Narf did get the clip, as well as that one.
Narfman gets the people's clip. We'll see if he's familiar with the statue room and how he decides to handle it. He's going for the P-Speed stress, but does he know about those fireballs? No!
Ouch!
Unfortunately, he's going to have to do he'll have to defeat Bowser the conventional way and just let those jumps break open a hole in the floor.
Yep. For those unaware, Bowser has no hitbox on the lower half. So you can just duck and not move. Well, okay, move occasionally so you don't get clipped by a fireball.
Alright, looks like Narfman finishes up. And he has an official SRL time of a 39:29. Get your GGs out.
And that is round one.
Very nicely done from both of our racers.
Indeed. We will be taking a short break for also like get up and stretch, do what you gotta, and we will return for round two.
Meanwhile, both of our racers will get their seed ready for the Group 2 flag set, and we'll describe more of that as it comes up.
Stay tuned. All right. Second race is about to begin.
So welcome back, everyone. So we'll be doing the Group 2 flag set now between Ibuba and Narfman. So it's going to be fairly similar to the Group 1 flag sets in the sense that enemies will be shuffled, power-ups will be shuffled. The only difference is that the level locations and the world order are going to be random. So that's going to be, that could have some minor influences on how both of our racers are going to strategize their item usage in order to make their way from point A to point B to the airships. So,
and we're underway. The first world is hold on, something happened. Never mind. I guess we're still going. Anyway, first level is super tanks.
All right, so it looks like ibuba has a slight lead because he was able to get that P-Speed a little bit earlier. So he'll be the first one out of the super tank. And it looks like the next regular level is going to be 3-8. It doesn't look like there's any boss bass in sight, so they should both be in the clear just to do some jumping through that water, and they'll make their way over to the exit with no problem at all. Narfman looks like he miscalculated. He did a short jump, so had a bit of a delay there, but once again gets through there no problem. We'll see if ibuba decides to go for the Hammer Bros. In that case, he does. Too close to that Sledge Bro there and got stun locked by that Quake.
Unfortunate.
So it looks like ibuba's opting to take the alternate path of level 1-1. So we'll see if he decides to go for any power-ups here to help him in some of the other levels coming up.
Meanwhile, Narfman is taking on the Hammer Brothers.
Our first item was a mushroom. Did I see that correctly? No, it was a star.
Which will be used to take these ones out.
The great thing about that star is that it also allows him to be immune to the quakes as the Sludge Bros do their jumps. And he gets a cloud. Very nice.
Very helpful indeed.
Definitely going to give Narfman an advantage because ibuba just opted to take the path over to Sky World.
Okay. Oh, does Narf get the clip?
Narfman in 7-6. He's really going out of his way to do those windbacks to build speed for those wall clips. It's pretty common for anyone doing the wall clips in 7-1 and 7-6 to do a duck jump into that corner pixel in order to make the clip, and he successfully gets it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty common to see a duck jump be used instead of a regular jump. Both will get the job done, but a duck jump will widen your window for success by 3 frames.
Oh,
it looks like he gets hit by the rebound on that boomerang.
ibuba has decided to stomach this and trudge on.
It didn't look like ibuba had the luxury of skipping over 5-9 anyway, since he didn't get the cloud from the Hammer Bro.
Well, Narf does, and he has decided no.
Looks like that Boomerang Bro is also saying no.
Going in the pipe to save that. Good idea.
A very good idea to just generate a checkpoint there in case anything should happen in 3-5. Doesn't have a P-Wing at his disposal, so he doesn't have the luxury of just taking a quick shortcut over the upper route.
Yeah. This could have also been Atlantis. Thankfully, it was not.
That's another really good point about this flag set. Unlike the Group 1, where you're just going to see levels that you would normally see in vanilla SMB3, you're going to be encountering some beta levels as well. Oh, and Narfman takes another hit from one of those cheeps. Thankfully, he does have that checkpoint, though.
Atlantis, to be more specific, is the other level aside from 5-9 that still has auto-scrolling. These 2 levels kept their auto-scrolling properties because removing it would break the level.
Atlantis is an affectionate name given to one of the beta levels that didn't make it to the final version of the game, but it is a swimming auto-scroller, so it's definitely one of the longer ones. I want to say fairly close to 2 minutes, and there's a lot of bloopers and cheeps to be aware of as you're making your way through.
There's also ice.
That's also true as well, yeah. That could really be a pain.
ibuba is finishing up World 5. Got to the airship.
despite not going
No.
for the cloud to skip over 5-9, it looks like ibuba was able to still maintain a little bit of a lead.
Yeah. While this is the World 6 airship, it's still going to be Roy at the end because it is Skyland.
The ships that you encounter at the end of each world is going to be random, but the Koopalings that you would normally find in their respective worlds in Vanilla are still going to be consistent with Randomizer.
The arenas will be consistent with the airships too. And that actually is pretty important for certain fights.
Like the World 3 and World 6 airships are always going to have flat grounds for the boss arena, so that'll be really good for strategizing how you decide to go for the fire kills, especially when you're doing the Wendy fight as well.
Alright, what is World 2 going to be?
Get your guesses out. What's going to be the next world? I see 4.
It's 7!
So GG's to 0 wings and only money, not talent.
This is one of 2 great equalizers. And by that I mean... you need to... Is your routing correct? Yes, no.
Looks like some of these pipes are being a bit of a troll with these dead ends.
Pipeline is being pipeline here.
Doesn't look like we're going to have the luxury of having a linear path over to the airship as could occasionally happen in some of these randomizer seeds, but looks like we're struggling with the fact that he's going to have to play 7-5, and he gets grabbed by Boss Bass. How unfortunate. 7-5 is definitely one of the more unpleasant levels consistently for every randomizer seed, because enemy spawns can be really, really mean as you're making your way through some of those narrow paths as mentioned before. It's considered a blessing if you're able to if you have to play 7-5 at all, if you can avoid Boss Bass and the Angry Sun.
Narfman is making friends with the Pipe Munchers.
It looks like Northman's going to have to meet a similar fate by wrestling with 7-5 as well once he gets to that point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. These Pipe Munchers are very peculiar in that they still move even when the game is paused in any fashion.
And when the Munchers come in and out of those pipes, they run on a global timer that's irrespective of whether the game is paused or not.
Yeah. They are unaffected by the frozen time.
So Narfman's opting to just kind of trudge his way through 7-5. We'll see if he's able to avoid Boss Bass and some of the enemy obstacles that are going to be in his way. Yeah, having a Koopa shell in your hands is definitely a very smart move, especially since there's going to be a lot of blocks you'll have to break in the upper section. And Boss Bass respawned right at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Speaking of Boss Bass, he was over on ibuba side too, but don't worry, he's...
Narfman's going to do a bit of a detour and see if that fortress is going to be able to unlock anything. Thankfully, he has a star equipped, so he's able to get through some of those enemies without any problem. Another star at his disposal, so he'll be able to maintain P-speed over the beds of spikes if he decides to go that route. Play a little bit safe here, especially after rubbing that first wall.
Buma hammers that lock and makes his way to Ludwig.
Considering the way that World 7 was going, it's definitely a good opportunity to use a hammer, especially if it allows you to skip over 7-5. Can't stress enough how annoying that level is.
That was peculiar, what happened on Narfman's screen.
Your guess is out. What's going to be the next world? We're saying 4, 3?
I'm also gonna guess 3.
And 4 is the solution, yeah.
Narfman has made his way to the right side of the world.
One of the fortunate things about 3-3, which Narfan's playing right now, is that enemies don't really get mixed up too badly, so it's pretty common to be able to maintain the same P-speed stress that you would normally do in vanilla. Was able to make his way past the rotodistant thwomps in 5F1, and he's able to maintain his fire kill on Boom Boom. Very nicely done.
Was this the correct fort, however?
And we have a bridge. Very nice. Was going to take a pit stop to see if he can match any more cards. It's still really easy. It's still really early in the seed, so it's not necessarily out of his way if he could especially pick up some good items like some clouds and hammers.
There's always a chance for goodies that are goodies.
If it's not a cloud or a hammer, even just getting a P-Wing for some of the forts that come up later on, or a hammer suit for the Bowser fight later on, that'll definitely serve him well in the future.
And a hammer.
Neither of these players have played World 6 yet, and considering how long that map tends to be, that's normally where I would end up using mine. World 3 is also pretty tricky in just relative to how some of the locks and the fortresses can be arranged, so that would be a good opportunity to use it as well.
Narfman has finished World 2.
Booba's just finished World 4, so he looks like he's trying to go for the fire kill on Iggy just now, but considering how awkward some of those jump placements were from Iggy, it was just quicker just to do the normal 3 jump kill.
Alright, so what will World 4 be?
We see some for 2, some for 3. I'm gonna
guess 3 again.
And World 3 it is. Right, so we'll see what levels are going to be coming up in World 3, and it looks like our first one is going to be 6-3. Actually got caught by that Koopa and wasn't able to clear that gap, so...
Also, Boss Bass again on Narfman's side.
Boss Bass definitely seems to be hungry this seed, and hopefully he remains hungry for the remainder of this race.
Narfman has chosen to take the 5 up. Probably not a bad idea, because they were at 0.
Yeah, he's pretty deep into World 4 right now, so it'd be unfortunate if you had to do some backtracks and some additional levels along the way.
Indeed. Because while the fortresses stay destroyed, you'd have to redo all those levels if you game over it.
Looks like Narfman's doing a really good job matching some of those cards, though. So we'll see what items are going to be in store for him in his inventory. Very close to clearing the board, so really nice job on his end. So he'll be making his way over to 5F1, and that will unlock the bridge to get to Iggy's airship. It's going to be next in World 3. It looks like 6-9. Unfortunately, he has a tail instead of a P-Wing, so he won't be able to do a wall jump because he won't have the speed in order to clip into the wall. He's going to have to go the conventional route, but looks like he's very well equipped to be making his way through the water, and it'll be no problem on his end. He's still maintaining a pretty solid lead over Narfman.
Narfman, meanwhile, making his way to the airship.
Ooh, it looks like ibuba miscalculated to jump in 4-5. It looks like he tried to turn back at the last moment once he saw that big Koopa, and then just, kind of hesitated a little bit. So he's going to use the... He's going to use the frog suit. We'll see if he holds on to it. He doesn't. It looks like he was just a meat puppet in order to damage boost through.
Yeah. Yep. Just an extra hit. Oh, but
looked like he was really close to, with that really wise maneuvering on those bullet bills. Fortunately, he wasn't able to bring it straight to the end zone. Be a good opportunity for ibuba to pick up some lives as well.
All right, take 2.
You have another damage boost with the frog suit. We'll see if he goes for any power-ups on this end. So he's going to just push forward.
All right, and he makes it.
Very nicely done on ibuba's side. Narfman looks like he's going to be... He's looking to experiment with some of the pipe exits to see if he could find any shortcuts to the airship. It didn't look like that ended up being the case. He's backtracking again. Is he going to use his hammer? This is frog suit here. Not necessarily the level you want to be using it on. But at least since he has a power-up to start, it looks like he'll be able to transition into the Fire Flower if he's able to reach it. Looks like he's
get that Fire Flower. But he got it.
It's like Narfman did a little bit of a pause there, like, geez, what was that?
ibuba found the airship.
So he'll be in the World 7 airship in order to fight Wendy. He's probably going to want to look for a Fire Flower in order to get that Wendy kill. Because otherwise the fight can get really ugly, especially if it ends up being a 5-hitter and she has some really high jumps. Those rings, as Dustminion mentioned before.
They're suddenly a lot more dangerous when the floor is uneven.
And it ends up being a 3-hitter, and it looks like he was able to avoid the line of fire with those 3 rings, 2 of which shot out at once after the first hit. Really impressive dodging skills on ibuba's side. Looks like Narfman's getting pretty close to rounding up World 3. So get your guesses out. What's going to be the next world? So we have 1 vote for 1. I'm going to say 1.
I'm going to say 2.
And it's World 6. So we're going to be starting off hot with level 2-3, making his way past the fire chomps and the fire snakes. Not necessarily able to hold on to his P-speed, but that might not be a bad thing because it's very easy just to run face first into some of the enemies that would normally be unstoppable.
And this is some rather unfortunate enemy placement here.
It looks like that fire snake is being a little stubborn on ibuba's side, but he's able to make his way over to the exit pipe, no problem. Very nicely done. Putting those great dodging skills to work.
That was some good keep away.
Looked like Narfman was able to hold on to the P-speed that he wanted, but thankfully it doesn't really lose him that much time. So he does have the Fire Flower equipped for Wendy, so we'll see how that goes. Looks like he tried to do the jump in the stomp in the fire at the same time, but that started to trigger Wendy's jump patterns. But thankfully that didn't matter. He was able to get through there without taking any harm. So very nicely done on Narfman's side as well.
And as for ibuba, he hammered to the airship.
And he has the fire equipped to get a nice quick kill on Lemmy.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, I really hope that that Lemmy didn't soft lock, because sometimes when you fight Koopalings in an unfamiliar arena, sometimes your fire kill patterns can get a little bit out of sync with what you would normally do in vanilla, and
it gets pretty absurd
sometimes
with some of the more uneven arenas.
It can potentially also end in disaster if you land that 10th fireball to defeat a Koopaling on the same frame that it shoots its wand, and that can force the Koopalings to fall through the floor and then just permanently soft lock with the timer frozen, so he wouldn't have an opportunity to time out.
Ibuba went to I mean, it was in the way, so he'd have to do this regardless, but something peculiar about this particular fortress is that it's usually never required, because you know that you can fly up there and get an item. Getting that item will not break the lock, which is why, to prevent soft locking, the logic will not mandate you do this map for unlocking locks.
The World 1 fort will never unlock a lock that you would normally need to progress to the airship.
Yeah, that. You're much more concise.
It looked like he needed to play 1F anyway, just because it was directly in his path.
Yeah. That could still happen.
Booba is rounding up 4F2, able to hold on to his Fire Flower. Wrap up Boom Boom real quick, very nicely done. The World 3 airship, where he'll be, or he too will be able to fire kill Lemmy Koopa. We'll see if he has the same luck that Ibuba did. We're roughly a little more than midway through the randomizer seed right now, so they're only a couple levels apart, so they're still definitely within striking distance, so Narfman can still pull an upset here, especially considering all the things that can happen in World 8.
Like that rebound shell hit there.
Boob is going to take a moment to outrun Angry Sun, do a turn back, and he's able to get through 1-2. He decides to box the Hammer Bro instead of seeing what item contents are inside. So if it ended up being a useless item like a star, he definitely made the right decision, but we'll never know. Unless Narfman goes for it.
Larry's down.
We have another 3-hitter. Looks like Narfman tried to go for the wall clip to get an early access to Boom Boom, but looks like he just decided to enter the doorway after that first attempt.
Ibuba contemplating his next move.
Narfman rounds up 4F2, so he'll be making his way over to the airship really shortly in World 1. Who's just breezing through World 2 right now, and we get the Navy. Well, Ibuba would potentially get through through the Navy a little bit faster if he was able to do the P-Speed strats without the tail. But looks like he's opting to hold on to it, seeing if it can come into use for any future levels. Man's going to be rounding up 1-2. Barely dodging that one jumping Koopa. So can he get past the Angry Sun? And he gets chipped by that Fire Piranha. Didn't get out of there unscathed, but he got out of there nonetheless. So ibuba is very...
Ibuba using the hammer to break the rock and ignore those levels and come over here.
Looks like ibuba came into 4F1 really well equipped with those with the secondary power up, because it's very easy to take damage in the fort like that, especially with dry bones dropping from where the candle placements are. So even if he took damage, he still has that additional power up in the if he takes the upper brute. Once again, it looks like ibuba is opting not to do any P-speed strats in the World 4 airship, but if needed, he can pick up additional power-ups along the way if necessary. It doesn't look like that's going to be the case, though. And he's able to clear that big gap that's a lot easier said than done. He has a nice path open to Morton Koopa, and he's able to get through there no problem.
And so Ibuba heads to the Darkland.
It looks like Ibuba's going to have all the tools he needed to in order to make his way over through World 8 pretty seamlessly. I can't remember if he got a hammer suit from any of the end card games or the Hammer Bros. If he's able to hold on to that Fire Flower, he'll be in very good shape nonetheless.
Okay, 5-2 is you want to take the upper path when you do this level.
Looks like ibuba stumbled a little bit when he was trying to cross over with that note block, but thankfully he was able to take it a little bit more carefully, and then he was able to recuperate. Because if he ended up making that fall of shame, that could potentially cost him over 16 seconds, especially since you don't know what enemies are going to be down in that lower path. That could potentially generate a ton of lag, especially coupled with the waterfalls, the small hills, and the ice blocks that can be thrown around. Definitely made the right move just to make sure that he got to that upper route. Meanwhile, he's making his way over to the first fort in World 3. Didn't go for door 3 this time, which could save him 4 seconds, but I can't blame him for not going for it in a race, especially since it's an issue of risk versus reward. You would only have gotten 4 seconds out of that when he already has a pretty substantial lead. For those who are not familiar with door 3, there's a frame perfect trick you can do in that fort where you hit up once you enter the third door in that hallway. And then once you re-enter that door in midair, just doing a frame perfect up input, that could warp you straight to the boom boom fight, saving you a little bit of time. Definitely not something you would conventionally see in a race at any rate. So it looks like narfman opted to take the upper route in 4F1 as well. So he will not have a fire equipped for boom boom, but 3 jumps, then he's out.
Ibuba found the wrong tank. See, normally in World 8, there's 2 tank levels, but one of them is considered a fortress for randomizer purposes, because Super Tanks has a boom boom, regular tanks does not. So regular tanks is considered a standard level, and it's thus shuffled with other random levels.
That's a really good point from Dust Minion, and that can, as soon as you realize that that tank is just going to give you a regular level, depending on where it is on the map, like if it ends up leading to a dead end, you might sometimes see racers just skip out of that altogether and then just try to continue along the path.
Yeah. Ibuba decided to not bother with this level, but Handtrap says, "No, you're doing me."
6-6 is definitely one of the most unpleasant levels you can encounter in Randomizer, especially with all the bloopers that can put you in immediate danger.
It really wants Ibuba.
Sometimes those hand traps can be really finicky. And just pull you in multiple times, even though it's a 50-50 shot every time you cross over to that over its tile.
This is thankfully a much tamer level, and this is one of the dummy levels we mentioned before.
I saw ibuba just constantly getting pulled in by that 6-6 hand trap. I'm reminded of the finals that Macobra had to encounter when he was at the SpeedGaming live event last October, where he encountered a very similar issue where he got pulled in at least 7 or 8 times.
9, I think.
Oh, it was 9. It was somewhere in that ballpark. So Narfman's making his way over to 6F1. He has his tail equipped, so he'll be able to do a damage boost over that bed of spikes.
Ibuba has found Bowser's Valley and third hand warp, which is sub in 1.
Even if he wanted to clip, he wouldn't be able to do it with Small Mario.
Gotta be big.
He's able to get it first try. He had some really good subpixels if he was able to nail it that way. So GG's on that mac and cheese.
Yeah, that was really well done.
Now that he made his way over to Bowser's Castle, he's going to be charging in full force again with the hammer suit and the star. To go for the sweat clip, doesn't have much luck, so he's just going to push forward. Looks like he tried to go for the follow-up clip on the upper portion of the elevator to skip over the roto discs. Doesn't really save time in the vanilla run of SMB3, but considering how much time you lose just by ducking and avoiding those waffles, definitely would have been particularly beneficial. So he's reminded again of the danger of the statue room, so he's going to try to clip the upper path. Makes 2 attempts at it, and he's going to take a gamble.
6-6 Tan Trap also wants Narfman. Narfman has decided to stomach it, though.
Oh my god.
Oh!
No mercy from that last statue.
No quick kill, unfortunately. And that was a very unfortunate fireball there.
For ibuba, he has a pretty solid lead at this point already, so he will be able to stomach the slow kill on Bowser. So he should be rounding up very shortly. So do be sure to get your GGs ready for him.
6-6 really wants. Ibuba has finished with an SRL time of 33:51.
Everyone, get your GGs out for ibuba7. Very nicely done on his side. Looks like Narfman will be joining him shortly. He's not really that much further behind.
And we'll see if Ibuba wants to say some words.
Looks like this arrangement of blocks is really a bit of a pain. At least knows where Valley of Bowser is, but will the fort unlock it? Sort of missed which one was the solution to get to Bowser's Castle.
We'll try to get Ibuba in.
Hello.
And we're
Hello.
joined by ibuba7. Congratulations on the race. Looks like it went 2-0 on your front.
Thank you very much. I have a question for you. On the very first world, there was a way to avoid the auto scroller, right?
If you're referring to World 5, yes, one of the Hammer Bros had a cloud, so it looks like you skipped over it and decided to just kind of stomach through it. Narfman was able to capitalize on it and skip over 5-9, but he had a little bit of a struggle with some of the other levels. So by the time you both got to the airship, you were very, very close to each other.
Yeah, I actually thought so. I was super stressed at the end of this world. I thought I was going to lose. That was horrible.
I think you both did a really, really good job. You had some really impressive dodging skills, especially in the second game with that Wendy. It looks like you were in the line of fire pretty close to those rings as you were trying to land both the fire kill and the jumps on this at the same time. So it looks like you were able to just land right between her with the duck jump and the rings, and were just able to finish her off with that 3-hitter. So really, really impressive dodging skills on your end.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember that one. Something weird happened. I think before the last hit, I hit Wendy when she was still a shell, and I was like propelled to the air. So I was just hoping she didn't hit me, and she did not. Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned before that you were worried about losing, but it's also important to remember that even if you're struggling with something particular, you can also take comfort in the fact, so to speak, that you're probably not going to be the only one struggling along the same way. I mean, randomizer is not a very easy thing to master.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. The problem is that I think my first race went very smooth. I felt very comfortable with that one. The second one, I died almost immediately on the first world, and I started to get stressed. And then I kept dying and making mistakes. So I don't know.
That's a really good point, especially when you're doing just an extended practice session offline. If you're doing multiple seeds at a time, you notice that your times are just getting higher and higher as you start to mentally fatigue, just trying to figure out what strategies you want to use. But one of the beneficial things about Group 1 is that you know the world order and you know what levels you can usually expect to find, so that helps you strategize which items you want to pick in your inventory. Like you made that really wise decision to use the P-Wing as you know you were going to enter 6-9.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was actually thinking about that. It was like, I think I could get I don't remember how you call this fort, but the fort where you use the P-Wing. So I took the shot and it paid off.
It looks like the RNG from the hand traps in the second game was a little mean to you. It looks like you got pulled in multiple times by that 6-6.
Yeah. For what it's worth, you're not alone.
Yeah, I know. That's something common on Randomizer. I
mean, this one especially. Oh, sorry.
No, tell me. Okay. Yeah, I was actually thinking about playing 6-9.
Yeah.
I didn't have that many lives left.
I saw you wanted to do the wall jump in 6-9 in one of the games, but kind of had to go through it the conventional way.
Yeah, I have this the strategy. I try the wall jump 3 times, and if I can't get it, I just enter the pipe and finish the level.
That's a really, really smart idea. Go for it a couple times just because the potential time save it has to offer, but definitely not worth dwelling on because that'll offer the opportunity for an opponent to catch up.
Yeah,
I know Narfman tried to go for it in one of the seats. He was fortunately for him, he was small as he was going for it, but it took him a number of tries. Ooh, and it looks like he tried to do door 3 just now in 3F1.
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. So apparently, I made the right decision on this world about playing the fort at the beginning, because now I can see Narfman struggling to find a way. I mean, the fort that builds the bridge at the end.
Yeah.
It looks like you had an easier time with World 8 in this particular seed, but Narfman skipped the first ship in the Air Force in I think the first seed, and that allowed him to find the Navy that would unlock Bowser's Castle a little bit sooner than you did.
Oh yeah, that's so cool because I played all the forts.
It's a really bold move on his part too, because it's usually a racer's natural instinct just to get as many of those levels out of the way to minimize your chances of having to backtrack.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think the only reason to not play a fort when you find one on World 8 is if you think you are losing and you have to play a little bit risky. So you might want to skip a fort and see if you are lucky.
That's definitely true as well. It looks like Narfman found his way over to Bowser's Castle. He does have a path open, but it looks like he's trying to make it past the hand trap. And he does, so he's going to charge in there full force with the hammer suit.
Oh.
Indeed.
For the swag clip as well, doesn't get it, no problem. Does he get the follow-up clip? He doesn't. So
No.
He's going to have to be a little bit careful with those rotodiscs, as ibuba did before. Oh, he just barely missed that waffle.
Oh, my heart.
It looks like he's going to risk it again with the P-Speed strats in the strategy room. So it looks like he's setting himself up for those fireballs. It's going to be a bit rough. Looks like he backtraced a little bit.
Will he
remembered
get
at the last
clipped by
minute.
the laser?
Ooh, he just barely misses the laser and the fireball. And
Goodbye, Bowser.
ladies and gentlemen, get your GGs out for narfman0. Very nicely done for both of our racers.
Official time of 42:35.
Very shortly, we'll see if Narfman wants to join us for an interview as well.
Narfman will be with us shortly.
Narfman's making his way over here very shortly.
GG, Narfman.
Narfman, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, welcome, and GG. Man, we heard you for a brief moment. Are you still with us? Looks like we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty on our part. But yeah, as I was telling Dustmanian and everyone before, what's interesting both about ibuba7 and Narfman is that both of these players I first had the pleasure of watching their talents on display as they participated in the SMB3 Vanilla 90% Warpless Tournament, which was hosted by SpeedGaming back in the summer of 2018. And it was precisely that tournament that inspired me to start speedrunning this game myself. So It was really an honor to have an opportunity to see how things have come full circle and just have the honor of commentating for both of these racers. Ibuba, of course, is a familiar racer within the SMB3 Randomizer community, and he's consistently been a really strong contender both in last year's Randomizer Tournament and in the weekly races we've had every Saturday. Now, while I haven't personally seen Narfman do Randomizer up until tonight, I'm very familiar with his skills in vanilla, and I had no doubts about his ability to respond and adapt to the many shenanigans that Randomizer has to offer. So I'm really impressed with the performance that both of our racers have put on for us. Looks like Narfman just joined us again, so GG again.
Yeah, hi
Welcome.
everyone. GG Ibuba. Bravo. Cheers to you. Good job.
GG.
Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, Narfman, this is the first time I've actually seen you run Randomizer. I've seen you do vanilla several times. I'm very familiar with the talents that you have to offer for this game. So do you have any initial reflections going into these three races?
So this was my second and third race in Randomizer. It was pretty fun. I liked it a lot. It was something like 30 minutes faster than my previous race. So, hey, can't go wrong there.
Nicely done.
Yeah, the seeds were fun. The variety was fun. Boss Bass was really trolly. But, you know, that's expected. And, yeah, it's just fun to see all the enemies thrown around. So it's all good.
I noticed both racers had a bit of a trouble with Boss Bass, especially in World 4 in this particular seed. One of the things to watch out for, especially when you have a Boss Bass at an unexpected level like that, is just to make sure that he's always in a general location that you're familiar with. So just in case you snipe him like with a fireball or a hammer or whatnot, you don't have to worry about him just kind of respawning out of thin air and then just grabbing you before you have a chance to react to anything.
If you're doing it on a level that has like more than one level of elevation, like say 7-8, you really do not want to have Sky Bass.
Yeah, that makes sense. I saw one flying around in was it 7-1 or no 5-2. He's just kind of flying around up there after you exit the pipe. Very interesting looking. He grew wings.
I noticed in both of you encountered, I think 7-5 was in World 3, if I remember correctly, and Boss Bass was dwelling in the lower section. So he's very, very hard to maneuver and avoid, especially in those very narrow tunnels where you have very limited ability to move around.
Yeah, I gave up on that one. I recall that. That was very trolly.
I can't blame you at all. I struggled the same way in my past race. So thankfully I had a hammer to just kind of break a shortcut around it. So not everybody has that same luxury. So
yeah,
if you're able to avoid it at any cost, can definitely count your blessings.
Yeah, thankfully there was another path there. I did actually use my super sneaky shorthand. It treated me a little better for the second race, but I had so many items at the end. So item management is definitely something to work on for me.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like this, thankfully, the thing about SMB3 Randomizer is even if you haven't had too much experience with before, but if you've played a lot of vanilla SMB3, a lot of those same skills and strats can carry over, albeit sometimes you have to make appropriate modifications depending on some of the more dubious enemies that could potentially spawn in certain locations.
You will need to adapt at some point.
Yeah, actually, I'd say you have to be careful when you are trying to use speedrunning strat or randomizer, because there are some enemies like Paragoombas, Boss Bass, that their movements are clearly erratic and you are not used to them. So when you try the speed strat, you just get hit and you can die very easily. So yeah, it's not that easy to go from vanilla to randomizer.
And also need to anticipate hand traps being hand traps.
Dude, I don't know how many hands I got. 5, 6, 7, something like that. I was just really stubborn about not wanting to run that level. I also just don't like that level.
Yeah.
I don't blame you.
You trumped over regardless, but just so you know, Ibuba had the same issue with that specific one.
All right, I feel validated. Thank you.
So, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, it's always fun to race on tournaments like this, especially against very skilled players like Narfman. So GG, and thank you to you, Narfman, to you, Tix, Minion, for the commentary, and for to everyone on the Speed Gaming channel and community.
It's been a real pleasure being able to commentate with Minion on this particular race, especially since I'm familiar with the talents that you both have. I know that Narfman said that he wanted to work on just inventory and menuing and just trying to figure out what kind of strategy he wants to do as he's making his way through some of these randomizer routes. Is there anything specific, ibuba, that you want to work on, or do you have any plans going into your forthcoming races?
Yeah, definitely routing, especially on World 7 and 8. Because I sometimes get lost and I end up losing like even 4 minutes just trying to find my way back or something.
Yeah, sometimes it's very easy to forget which pipes you went through in World 7, and then sometimes you just re-enter the same ones and just encounter the same dead ends over and over again, and you just kind of get caught in a feedback loop.
They're called the Great Equalizer for a reason.
Indeed, my friend. Well, I do believe that's going to be doing it for us tonight. So we do have a couple more races to be looking forward to over the course of this week.
Specifically tomorrow at 8 p.m. Proa 007 versus Leslie Pro 04.
That will be hosted on the SpeedGaming 2 channel. On Wednesday, we'll have Europolous versus Magu is Adorable at 6 p.m. And then we have 2 races on Saturday. 3 p.m. we'll have Gamer Cal versus Johnny Link. And 9 p.m. we'll have Riker Rider versus myself. And on Sunday the 9th...
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
On the 9th,
go ahead.
At 8 p.m., it's Paranoia versus Sharky 2107.
And almost more than likely, we will have a couple more races going to be scheduled over the course of this week as they... as our competitors do try to schedule these amongst themselves. In the meantime, what's going on for the remainder of the night, it looks like we'll have a Super Metroid and a Link to the Past randomizer hard spoiler race between 9:15 and 1:15 p.m. and a.m. on the Speed Gaming 2 channel, so definitely don't want to miss that. Once again, it's been a real pleasure to be a part of the commentating for this race. GG once again, both to ibuba7 and narfman0.
Give them both a follow.
Yes, give our races a follow. And I definitely look forward to seeing how many more of these matches progress as time goes on. So do have a good night, everyone, and we'll see you all again soon.
Boss Bass is watching you.
Thanks all, GG.
GG, Narfman.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.